we're back. Hey guys, hope you're doing fantastic. Hope you're enjoying quarantine time. Yeah, we're back. We're talking about attachments today. Got my room with me. I'm cracking. We're talking about attachments today, you guys. And yeah, so we're going to talk about things that we've ran in the past. We run now. And yeah, just some personal preferences, some things you should look for when you're picking out attachments. Maybe you don't even need attachments, but we're going to talk about that right now. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. So this is my current gun right here. This is what I'm running on it right now. It's outdoor season. I run it a little bit different for indoor. Actually, I don't know why this is on here because this isn't my outdoor setup. But anyway, we're going to talk about kind of just personal preferences in terms of attachments and whatnot. It looks like I'm aiming at maroon right now, but I'm not, I guarantee you. So yeah, attachments. Let's talk about it. So kind of the main reason for attachments, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is visual customization. People want to make their gun look cool, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But there are also some quality of life improvements. We don't have a single foregrip on the table right now.
No, we don't.
Let me get one.
That's sad. Is that making the cut?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are quality of life improvements as well as just, they just improve your gameplay and maybe more comfortable for you. A couple examples of that are, of course, the notorious foregrip and an angled foregrip we got here. Red dot sights, of course.
So kind of our mindset going into this video, we want to give you some insight on attachments you need over attachments that maybe look cool or are just like not helpful. We want to keep your kit as lightweight as possible. That's kind of the goal.
For sure.
Is to carry what you need and nothing else. You want to slim it down as much as you can because the more that gun weighs, the less fun you're having because it just gets exhausting.
Absolutely.
So we have our guns pretty slimmed down, kind of as much as we can.
Yeah, I think kind of one thing that's been a theme of these videos is we kind of talk about at the beginning, kind of things that we've done wrong. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely one thing we've done wrong when we started out. For example, this sight right here. This is something that I definitely regret for Airsoft purchase. I mean, it looks cool. It's an ACOG, right? What could possibly be wrong with it? Well, starting off, ACOGs are supposed to have 4x zoom. I don't know if you know that. Or if you do, you do. Every video game, ACOGs have 4x zoom. This thing weighs a ton. It just has the ACOG look. It doesn't have 4x zoom. And that was a stupid mistake of mine. It was a lot cheaper.
These do the exact same.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can even see that.
Ridiculous. So, silly thing there. Again, we started Airsoft when we were like 12. Mm-hmm. So, of course you're going to make silly mistakes. But we're trying to prevent those mistakes for you guys. This sight probably weighs like, what, 3 pounds? 2 pounds?
It's really heavy. Even this one's significantly lighter.
Yeah. I don't know why it's so heavy. But anyway, that's just what we're saying is, yeah, to cut down on weight. We thought running all the I wanted a grenade launcher attachment. Do you remember that?
I wanted a grenade launcher too.
Like,
who didn't want a grenade launcher?
Come on. But like,
who doesn't want to noob tube their friends?
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on.
But and if you have one, I'm sorry, we're picking on you. But it's just so unnecessary. I mean, do you really use that every battle? And it's just so heavy. I mean, I remember picking one up for the first time, and just the shell alone is the same weight as this thing. Like, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, you might not need that grenade launcher attachment, you guys. But, again, if you want to do it, go for it, guys. Like, it's Airsoft. Have fun. But, yeah, so is that kind of all you wanted to say there? Or?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, so super kind of the way our mindset is now, same with the vests, is kind of cutting down the bulk and getting to the point. Definitely when I'm running indoors, kind of, I don't even run iron sights because these ones are full metal iron sights. They add a bit of weight, and I just don't need them for indoor. Games last 15 minutes. Is my Optic really going to die? I run a tracer unit. I don't even use an Optic. Like, you know, just things like that. You'll figure it out as you go, for sure. Kind of the one nice thing that we've really picked up recently is the flashlights,
Mm-hmm.
and really good flashlights.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you'll realize when playing indoor is that a lot of people run flashlights, and how effective these things are. Like, my goodness, you can get really cheap flashlights for like $30. Like, I've seen people with Home Depot flashlights taped around their gun with electrical tape. It works, but these things are around. What do we pay for these? They're running to $150 regular Canadian.
I think we paid $115 for them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't change that. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but I wouldn't change that for anything.
Mm-hmm.
These things are so potent. Like, woo!
That's not even full power.
No, there we go. Whoa! Hello! Yeah, like, they're just so bright and just provides a huge advantage in our battles, and definitely a great attachment to have. If you're going to buy a weapon light, highly recommend spending a little bit more and getting one you actually know is good. We've seen ones at our local Airsoft store that are the same price as this thing, and they're like a quarter of the power that these things provide. We've got this one here as well. This is one of Maroon's weapon lights. You bought this as a flashlight.
Yes, but it works as a weapon light as well because it has the pressure switch. And the reason I've gone from this to this is, again, to save weight and make things simpler. This is actually a more powerful flashlight. It is bigger, so yes, it's more powerful. It's quite a bit brighter, if you can see there. That's full power right there. So that's super bright.
Yeah.
This terrified people on the field. It was actually kind of a green tint on it at one point to protect it because it is a more expensive flashlight. And I didn't want it getting shot out. And everyone was terrified of me that day. And I remember every time I came around a corner and shone my flashlight, hearing everyone scream, "Oh no, it's the green flashlight guy, look out!" And they couldn't see me because my flashlight was so bright that it just bloomed and you couldn't see what was behind the flashlight. So awesome, effective tool on the field. This flashlight, super awesome, super powerful. It does give you an advantage on the field if you get a more powerful one. If you get a cheaper one, which you can get, these are more expensive, but this definitely gives you an advantage.
Absolutely.
The reason I switched from this to this is the tape switch. This one isn't a great one. A lot of flashlights have much better systems, but this thing drove me nuts. I hated this thing wrapped all around my gun. It was a pain. So I scrapped this for... That was probably really loud.
That's right.
For this one, which is a more... It's actually meant to be a pistol light. It has the two little tabs on the side, which you click to engage the flashlight over the pressure switch. And I put this on the top of my gun and just engage it with my thumb. And it works great. And the other reason I like it is because it's the exact same whether I'm dominant hand or weak hand. It's in the exact same place. The buttons, because they're on both sides, are in the exact same place. It also has a quick detach mount in case you want to throw it on, take it off, play around with it. That's another bonus too.
Well, and me actually coming before these flashlights, I went from a really, really cheap flashlight to one like this. I actually got the flashlight for free. You bought a bunch of used stuff from a guy that we bought some Airsoft stuff from in the past. He was getting out of the sport. It was like probably a $25 flashlight. And it was so ridiculously dim that like there was no point. Like it was more useful to like light up my footsteps where I'm walking so I don't slip and trip than an actual weapon light. Like it was pointless. And that's definitely something you don't want. So I highly recommend spending money on that. Anyway, another thing that I want to talk about... Actually, let's talk about optics first.
Yes, let's go.
We kind of talked about that a little bit. Optics are super important. And I think one thing kind of beginners, really everyone worries about them not being good optics. And you see like a real EOTech. You're like, oh, I want to, Call of Duty, I always run the EOTech, my favorite sight. And you look at the real price of an EOTech, and it's what, $500 or something crazy?
Something like that.
Guys, it's for a real gun that's putting thousands of rounds downrange with real recoil, and it's holding that zero perfectly every time. We don't have recoil, guys. You don't need a sight that's meant to do that, or just they have a bunch of other features too that I don't even want to get into. You just don't need it. If you want to do a real EOTech, go for it, but you don't need it. So we run these $20. I've done a video on it. We'll link it below. These $20 red dot sights. They're super small, super tiny, super lightweight. It's all you need. You can still adjust it for windage and elevation. That's definitely something you want. Don't buy a sight that you cannot adjust because it's never gonna be perfect.
Don't pick up your Walmart reflex sight that has a red dot painted on the glass.
Not a good idea.
Don't ever.
Just don't.
Don't show up to the field with that and you'll get laughed at.
You need to be able to adjust that. It's different for every gun. Even every time we go to the field pretty well, we have to kind of zero it in based on
that is the issue with cheaper sights. Every time you take it off the gun, even if it's a more expensive sight, you're going to have to re-zero it because you're putting it back on. So these don't hold zero as well, so every time you go out, you might have to readjust it. That's kind of the disadvantage with the cheaper ones, and they probably aren't going to last as long. They're not going to be as good on batteries. This one's a little more expensive. It is a pretty nice one. It's based off of a name.
Sweet.
So yeah, you can get nicer sights. This one's a bit nicer. This is around the $80 mark, and you do get more for that.
That's pretty typical.
This holds at zero much better. This is a decent representation of an Airsoft sight to get. You can pay more, you can pay less. But this is a good sight.
Well, and going back to this one here, there's nothing wrong with this in terms of like using it as a red dot sight. It's just it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, so that's another thing just to keep in mind. But
and then moving on to like kind of the other attachments, like I have a suppressor. This really doesn't do anything. It does make my gun a bit quieter, which I like for outdoors. You can't tell where I'm coming from. If I sneak up on you, you'll hear the shots, but you won't be able to pinpoint where they're coming from.
I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people think
I do like
suppressor is gonna. Hopefully that's not too annoying. Well, I remember I was the first one to buy a suppressor, and everyone told me, "Oh, it's not gonna, work and not be an actual suppressor." There are some that just don't have anything on the inside. This one actually does have noise dampening, either foam or metal inserts, like a real suppressor. It doesn't quiet your gun per se. It does, but it kind of disperses the sound. I find a bit more. It isn't as like raspy and as direct. Definitely like
it's a very soft sound.
Yeah,
it makes.
You can't.
So that's kind of the advantage to that. But you don't need that, especially indoors. I don't know why you'd run that. I almost want an amplifier for my gun just to scare people.
But another thing about suppressors also is like, I'm someone who in video games, I love the look of a suppressor, and if you're like that, you love the look of a suppressor, go for it. You can get ones pretty cheap. So,
and then moving on to like foregrips, AFGs, other attachments. These are all personal preference.
Absolutely.
You can go watch 100 videos on what the best attachment assisting, arm assisting, I don't know what you want to call it, attachment is. Should you get an AFG? Should you get a hand stop? Should you get a foregrip? It's all preference in Airsoft. There's no recoil. It's not going to make a difference. Whatever is most comfortable for you is what I recommend. So I have a foregrip and I have a hand stop on two different guns. Foregrip on one, hand stop on the other. So I change it up. But it's really just preference for that.
Well, and I have used foregrips. I've used this angled foregrip. But just because this gun, that was probably weird. Because this gun is just so short, to use a foregrip or an AFG just didn't make sense really. And also just this rail system is so thin that I can just C-clamp it and run my whole hand around it perfectly. And I was just like, I ran foregrip, I ran AFG for a little bit, and I was like, I like it more just with nothing. So that might be something, and it has a little hand stop almost built right in. So that's just something that I've tried, and so it's totally personal preference. And with this one, you kind of, unfortunately, you do have to buy these things and find out if you like it or not. You can't just rent a foregrip for a week, which is kind of unfortunate. But again, there are cheap options like Amazon, like Wish out there, AliExpress. Like you can get Foregrips for like $5 on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you can get some pretty cheap options.
yeah. One other thing to touch on is my tracer unit here. Again, for indoor players, outdoor probably doesn't affect you too much unless you're playing night games or dusk games or evening games. But this is super cool. It's a tracer unit, which basically means you use glow-in-the-dark BBs. It's got a UV light in it, ultraviolet light, and every time a BB passes through it, it flashes with 2 different UV lights and makes the BB glow in the dark, basically, which is super cool because you can see where your BBs are going. It's definitely difficult to see where your BBs are going normally, especially indoors with poor lighting conditions. But one way around that Maroon does is you use a flashlight, and when you're backlighting an object that's traveling forward, you can, and especially when it's white and reflective, white is the most reflective color besides like obviously metallic and things like that. Yeah, you can see where your BBs are going, but I just prefer a tracer unit. Just my personal preference. This is a kind of a more micro one. It's pretty small, but you can get ones that look like suppressors. So if a suppressor is something you really like the look of, by all means, you can get that as well.
A couple attachments that we're not really going to touch on are lasers. We personally don't have any lasers, so we're not going to touch on those. Plus, a lot of fields don't allow them, so we're not going to go over those.
You can blind people.
And then also bipods. For the most part, don't get a bipod. A lot of people get a bipod, think it's cool, and think they're going to be setting up camp and waiting for noobs to show up, and they're just going to blast them. Yeah, we have had bipods, and
I think the only thing we actually found it maybe useful for was like a sniper. But even then, like you still have to chamber around every time, and they're not incredibly accurate. I'd rather be quicker chambering rounds and firing up a follow-up shot than be set up like with a bipod. You know?
Well, airsoft guns aren't accurate enough to need them. Basically, you're not going to be taking a shot that's that long that you're going to need it to be that good, or to be that accurate. Airsoft guns just can't do that, so that's why we don't recommend those. And lastly, iron sights. Iron sights are great, but they've kind of gone to the wayside now. Optics are becoming so reliable that there's almost no need for them at this point. Outdoors, I run them just as an emergency backup, but indoors, I take them off just to save weight because I can't see them in the dark. They're black, and it's dark on the inside, so I don't find a use for them inside. Some people, I'm sure, run them, have a great time.
Well, and optics are just so much quicker for target acquisition, so much simpler. It's just, you literally just pull up your gun, and it's right there. You don't have to really fiddle around. Obviously, if you get really good and comfortable with iron sights, they can work.
I'm sure you can be just as fast, but they are much higher skill, I feel, to be as good with them. So I just like the dots.
My battery's about to die. So.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll finish up quick with these.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. This technically isn't an attachment, but I kind of want to go over it briefly. It's just a quality of life thing on the field, and something you probably don't want to cheap out on. And that's speed loaders. I have this one. This is a more expensive speed loader. I have a sticker on it because I got it mixed up with a friend one time, so I put a sticker on it so it doesn't happen anymore. This is a more expensive one. You can get some cheaper ones, but this one's pretty good. It is going to last you a lot longer. If you pay, the more you pay for a speed loader, the longer it's going to last you. So this one, pretty strong, thicker plastic that's going to last me longer.
Pretty basic spruce.
Pretty basic, yeah. It is going to be a pain after all day of going like this. Your thumb's going to be tired, or your finger, or whatever you're doing. But recently I've upgraded to this. This is not the Odin speed loader, as much as it might look like one. I got this off Wish for $20. Save the money. So that's why I got it, was because it was so much cheaper. And it's great. It has a winder on the side. You insert your mags here, like this. Wind them all day long. Fill them up super fast. And then pop them out, and you're loaded up and ready to go. So those are a couple options there. Love this.
And they're
I
about the
keep
same
this as a
price.
backup. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I paid $20 for this, and this is $20 as well. So
Yeah. Great option.
yeah, there's some options out there for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right,
that's
guys.
sorry.
No, you go
No,
ahead.
no.
You can close
Okay.
if you want.
All right, sure. Yeah, I'll close this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of our overview of attachments. Hopefully, we went over things well enough for you guys that they made sense. You kind of learned kind of what you want, what you don't want. Please let us know in the comments what you guys thought, and let us know what attachments you're going to be running. If this gave you some great insight and you're like, wow, that's awesome, let us know. Let us know if this changed your mind on a subject. I hope you have a great day. Keep living out the quarantine life, and we'll catch you in the next one.